Okay. I've been, over the last 25 years at least, looking at how objects behave. And that's one of my real interests. So, what is the quality that an object has that gives it either a certainty of what it is or an uncertainty about what it might be? So, in that respect, pigment works have a kind of fragility. Their status as an object is somewhat uncertain. Then there are a series of void works in this show. We take that idea a little bit further and try and deal with the notion that the absence that there is in an object is more present than the apparently present. Then there's a work like the bump on the wall called When I'm Pregnant, which again looks at the notion that when you stand in a certain place, the object's very visible, and then somewhere else, it becomes a fuzz. So this play, if you like, between the physical and the non-physical. To take that idea a little step sideways, mirrored objects do this in a very, very different way. There's a work here called Her Blood, which are three big concave mirrors that implicate not just your body in the looking, they turn everything upside down. The space isn't quite how you read it at first, etc.
The interesting thing about Her Blood is it's also the first time that it's been on show in the UK, I believe.
Correct.
And I think for largely logistical reasons, it's not been able to be shown by the Tate. How do you feel about the way it's been presented here? Which is
I'm thrilled with the way that Her Blood looks in these galleries. It's the gallery's a good scale for it. These are very beautiful galleries here in Manchester.
It's a major coup for Manchester, I think, to show this exhibition first, and certainly I believe this will be the most comprehensive exhibition of all the touring exhibitions. How important do you think it is for major exhibitions to not only travel outside of London, but to open outside of London in galleries like this one?
You know, sadly, we have too regionalist a view, in a way, of how culture operates in the UK. I think it's good that there are other centres. You know, London is but one, and it's important that shows open in other places. And this, you know, as I said earlier, this is a very wonderful gallery. So I'm thrilled that it's happening here.
There are 10 pieces of your work here, 2 of which are from your own collection, I believe, from your own studio. I think if you were coming to see this work, it would be fair to say it was a fairly broad representation of the work that you do. If this was the only work that people ever saw by Anish Kapoor, would you feel satisfied that they kind of understood you as an artist and the work that you create?
That's a hard question, but I think, you know, it represents, in a way, a certain part of my endeavour. And now, you know, in the last few years, I've been lucky enough to work on quite a different scale. Quasi-architecturally, make works that are very big and have other relations with the way that you physically experience them. So that's the one thing, if you like, that's missing from this show. Otherwise, the main thematics are here.
If people could go to see another large-scale piece of your work, would there be one that you would like people to see first? I know obviously Orbit is due to open next year.
Indeed. So Orbit in its time at the Olympics, but they're across the country in the northeast. Is a work called Temenos, which is not so far away.
And you mentioned, I think, when I spoke to you on the phone that Orbit has a number of secrets that are not yet revealed. Right. Was it important for you to create something that was more than just something functional or just something artistic, to kind of make a very good play of those two things together?
Really, you know, the brief with Orbit was to make a tower. And you know, towers are complicated because there's a long tradition of them, And for the most part, towers are self-supporting, symmetrical structures. You know, they sort of do that. This half supports this half, and they hold each other up. What we've done with the orbit is to make an eccentric object, one that doesn't have that symmetry. So it supports itself in a completely different way that is, I think, properly 21st century. That's one side of the piece. Then, of course, it's all about participation. It's all about going in, climbing up, taking part. And there are these discrete events that I hope are deep and to be experienced in the journey, as part of that journey, up and then down the town. So it isn't simply a matter of viewing the landscape. The viewing is mitigated by these different works, if you like, processes.
And events.
Events, yeah, yeah.
Great, thank you very much.